We need to stop teaching children how to read. When my daughter was 4, she could sound out the word feeling, but could not read her own emotion. Here in the UK, we teach reading differently to many other European countries. We start, age 4, using phonics as a way to get children actively reading using sound. We carry on this path, teaching terminology, grammar, information retrieval. And in the process, we squash the life out of reading for pleasure with rigid measuring and constant testing that can put children under extreme pressure. I taught English for 16 years, and I witnessed the love of reading being zapped by an endless exam factory of prescribed fiction. 16-year-olds are being asked to pick apart the pieces of Dickens, taking away the true joy of that much-loved classic, A Muppet's Christmas Carol. Maybe these are the questions that we should be asking. Why do children lose their curiosity? What happened to reading for pleasure? Why do so many boys not want to read? Over in Denmark, they do things differently. They don't start teaching reading until age 8, the same as my daughter now. And their first year of school, their key focus is play, projects, pleasure, and being read to. And they are consistently one of the happiest nations in the world. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. So, are we getting it all wrong, teaching our children to read so young? I didn't think so. But that was until 2020, when I found myself hitting a brick wall, trying to homeschool my 4-year-old. Whilst trying to teach phonics and force her to read ebooks on the laptop, I began to question our priorities. I was an English teacher, and I was having to reteach myself to help her. I had no clue what a digraph was, and to me, blending was something for smoothies. It was then I decided that yes, we are teaching literacy all wrong. There's no denying that phonics is a highly effective way of teaching children how to read. But this isn't rocket science, this is literacy. Of course we want children to be able to read and write. But what I am talking about is emotional literacy. It is still the ability to read, but by read, I mean R-E-A-D. The ability to regulate, to have empathy, self-awareness, and development of positive relationships. Let me ask you this for a moment. What happens if children can't read their own emotions? How does that impact them? Are they likely to become more frustrated, then act out inappropriately? The answer is yes. And as an English teacher, I know this to be true. For me, the power to read has to start from home. But not all homes are the same. Let's say, for example, Amy. She lives in a home where her parents promote sharing and identifying feelings. She gets on well at school and with her peers. On the other hand, let's call him James. James's mum and dad are detached and struggle to share. He often gets into fights at school and can't explain why. His dad laughs at him when he gets upset and for wanting to play with the girls. This is where schools can bridge the gap and I know that they try, but they can't do it all. I'd like you all to think back now. Can you remember being read to as a child? Maybe story time, snuggling down on the school carpet, or cuddling up for a bedtime story. You may not have been able to read the words, but to read is the true power. It is the safety and warmth of that time together, allowing your imagination to soar and conjured up images in your head. It is the comforting sound of the storyteller's voice to help you to regulate. Having empathy for the characters. Developing awareness of your own feelings of excitement and curiosity as the story unfolds. And the development of closeness with those people experiencing the story with you. I have been a lover of books my entire life. Books have taken me on so many adventures, into worlds where wardrobes hold magic lands, where a rabbit hole can take you into a wonderland of adventure, where giants are friendly and golden tickets are life-changing. With my 8-year-old now, we have revisited my old friends up the magic faraway tree, been back on adventures with the famous 5, and now we are in the wizarding world of Harry Potter. We've made some new friends too. We've been on a bear hunt. We met a mouse that took a stroll in a deep, dark wood. You can help your child to read emotionally by helping them to connect with the characters. How does Harry feel when he faces Lord Voldemort? Why are Matilda's parents so cruel? Perhaps it is time to stop reading the words and start reading ourselves and others, but more importantly, showing our children how. As an English teacher, I excelled in my career. But as I look back now, I can see that I had so much more to learn when it came to my own emotional literacy. Because after a lifetime of escaping into imagined worlds, my own world became a nightmare that I couldn't escape from. December 2019, I hit rock bottom. Parenting solo and teaching full-time were hard enough. Add to that the aftermath of emotional and physical trauma. This led me down the path to emotional burnout. I struggled to read my own emotion, and so did my daughter. I didn't know how to help my little girl. I didn't know how the hell I was supposed to help her understand a world where Daddy hurt Mummy and Daddy and brother disappeared from her life. I didn't know. All I knew was that I should cuddle her and read her a story. When I needed self-love, regulation and empathy for myself, all I felt were guilt, fear and despair. Desperate for help, I found my way to a children's mindfulness class. I was running on empty and spiraling further into despair. This class opened up a world of emotional literacy that I didn't know existed. This became the start of my new education. I realized that in order to help my daughter, I had to help myself to read first. I had to learn how to regulate my system, have empathy for myself, be aware of my changing feelings, and this became the development of my positive relationship with myself. That class changed it all. After months of disturbed sleep, she slept that night. We lost ourselves in stories and visualizations and found laughter and smiles together. Then lockdown happened. But I decided that phonics didn't matter. Spellings didn't matter. We cuddled up and read stories together. We learnt how to read together. The most profound lesson I've ever learnt about the power of emotional literacy came way back at the start of my career. It was year 7 settling in evening, and a man walked towards me. He told me he needed to speak to me about his stepson. He needed to warn me. He told me that this lad was trouble. No kind words for the little boy with the sad, dark eyes. And as he left, a rather wise and wonderful deputy head teacher, Roy, looked at me, shook his head and said, "You know what that lad needs, don't you? That lad needs someone to put their arms around him and read him a bedtime story." I believe we are letting our children down, teaching literacy all wrong. We can do better. The power to read can help our children to know their self-worth and to believe in themselves. We need our children to be resilient, empathetic, mindful adults of the future. And we are all responsible. Schools can't do it all. But by shaping and nurturing the importance of this in schools, at home, and in our communities, we can break the cycle. This won't happen overnight. But the first step is to help your child to read themselves and others by reading to them and with them. If we do this, reading a bedtime story really could change the world.